video, you'll learn about speed, average speed, how to get the elapsed time, telling time, and the word problems.
The topic about speed. Speed is the distance traveled per unit time. As you can see over here, there is the DST triangle. Speed equals to distance divided by the time. Speed is a spatial rate that compares distance and time, and it tells us how fast a person or an object is traveling. Here is the DST triangle. D stands for the distance, S means the speed, while T means the time. So to get the distance is speed times time. To get the time will be distance divided by the speed. Then to get the speed is distance divided by the time. And then the speed can be measured in different units such as kilometer per hour, meter per minute, meter per second, centimeter per second, and so on. What's the difference between speed and the velocity? Speed is simply how fast you are traveling. For example, this car is traveling at a speed of 20 meters per second, while the velocity is speed in a given direction. For example, this car is traveling at a velocity of 20 meters per second east. Mr. Poon traveled from town A to town B. In 1 hour, he traveled 44 km. Mr. Faisal traveled in the same direction. In 1 hour, he traveled 66 km. The speed tells us how fast Mr. Poon and Mr. Faisal were traveling. We can write Mr. Poon's speed as 44 km per hour. And then for Mr. Faisal is 66 km per hour. Jane ran 900 meters in 5 minutes. Find her speed in meters per minute. So to solve this question, there are two ways. First, using the unitary method, and then one more using the DST triangle. So over here, 900 meters in 5 minutes. So it means in 5 minutes, she ran for 900 meters. Then how to get 1 minute? Is 900 divided by 5 equals to 180. So her speed is 180 meters per minute. And in the second, using the DST triangle, here is the distance, speed, and the time. The distance is 900 meters, while the time taken is 5 minutes. Then how to get the speed? To get the speed equals to 900 divided by 5 equals to 180 meters per minute. Joseph drives at a speed of 65 km per hour. At this speed, how far does he travel in 2 hours and in 5 hours? So take a look over here. The speed is 65 km per hour. So this means in 1 hour, he travels 65 km. In 2 hours, he travels 65 times 2 equals to 130 km. In 5 hours, he travels 65 times 5 equals to 325 km. And then we can solve the question by using the DST triangle. Let's say for the question A, the speed is 65 km per hour, while the time is in 2 hours. So the distance equals to 65 times 2 equals to 130 km. The speed of a train is 120 km per hour. How far can the train travel in 5 minutes? Please take a look that the speed is 120 km per hour. but the question is asking in minutes. So you must convert hour into a minute or minute into hours. Well, actually, to solve the question, there are two ways. The first is using the unitary method and one more using the TST triangle. Okay, so the first one. 1 hour equals to 60 minutes. So we will convert km per hour into km per minute. So it will be 120 km out of 60 minutes. So this equals to 2 km per minute. 1 minute equals to 2 km. How far can the train travel in 5 minutes? So 5 minutes will be 5 times 2 equals to 10 km. Another way using the DST triangle. The speed is 120 km per hour, while the time is 5 minutes. You must convert minutes into hours. How? 5 out of 60 equals to 1 out of 12 hours. Then, how far can the train travel in 5 minutes? So, 120 times 1 out of 12 equals to 10 km. Billy can run a field at a speed of 6 meters per second. How long did he take to run 456 meters? Remember that units for distance or time taken must be consistent. So the speed over here 6 meters per second, while the distance is also in meters, 456. So that's why meters is used consistently. Conversions of units for distance is not required. So to solve the question, we may use the TST triangle. Distance is 456, while the speed is 6. Then to get the time taken will be 456 divided by 6 equals to 76 seconds. A marble rolled from one end of a room to the other end of the room at a speed of 48 cm per second. The distance between the two ends of the room was 1.92 meters. How long did the marble take to roll from one end of the room to the other end of the room? So to solve the question, you may use the TST triangle. The speed was 48 cm per second, while the distance was 1.92 meters. And then the question is asking about the time taken. Remember that units for distance or the time taken must be consistent. The speed over here is in cm per second. So that's why you must convert meters into centimeters. So 1.92 times 100 equals to 192 meters. So to get the time taken would be 192 divided by 48 equals to 4 seconds. So the marble took 4 seconds to roll from one end of the room to the other end of the room. The average speed of an object is the quotient between the total distance traveled and the total time taken to complete the travel. So to get the average speed is total distance divided by the total elapsed time. To get the elapsed time would be total distance divided by the speed. And to get the distance will be speed times the time taken. 3A and 3B are 9 meters apart. 3B and 3C are 21 meters apart. Jack ran from 3A to 3B in 2 seconds. Then he ran from 3B to 3C in 3 seconds. Find Jack's average speed for the distance from 3A to 3C. Well, actually, it is not possible for an object to move at the same speed all the time. So we use average speed to describe how fast it is moving. So to get the average speed is total distance traveled divided by the total time taken. Total distance from 3A to 3C, 9 plus 21 equals to 30 meters. Then to get the total time taken to run from 3A to 3C, 2 plus 3 equals to 5 seconds. Then to get the average speed, 30 meters divided by 5 seconds equals to 6 meters per second. Nigel swam for 100 seconds at a speed of 1.4 meters per second. Then he swam another 360 meters. He took a total of 400 seconds to complete the swim. Question A. Find the total distance Nigel had swum. And B. Find Nigel's average speed. To solve question A, we should find the distance swam in the first part. So we may use the DST triangle. The time taken is 100 seconds and the speed is 1.4 meters per second. Then to get the speed is 1.4 times 100 equals to 140 meters. Then the total distance is 140 plus 360 equals to 500 meters. Then to solve question B, find Nigel's average speed. To get the average speed is total distance divided by the total time taken. Total distance is 500, while the total time taken is 400. So the average speed would be 500 divided by 400 equals to 1.25 meters per second.
Elapsed time without regrouping. When you leave your house, the time is 2:05. When you come back, the time is 2:35. How long did your trip take? Whenever you are figuring out how long something takes, you are finding the elapsed time. Elapsed time is the difference between two times. An elapsed time is also called a time interval. So over here you may see that the start time is 2:05 and the end time is 2:35. So to get the elapsed time will be 2:35 end time minus the start time. So we'll subtract the minutes first. 35 minutes minus 5 minutes equals to 30 minutes. 2 hours minus 2 hours equals to 0 hour. So the time interval between 2:05 and 2:35 is 30 minutes. Elapsed time with regrouping. 6:20 p.m. minus 1 hour and 55 minutes. We start by subtracting the minutes. Why? Because we may need to borrow from the hour. Can we subtract 55 minutes from 20 minutes? No, we cannot do it. So that's why we need to borrow from the hour. Remember, every hour is 60 minutes. So when you borrow an hour, you add 60 to the minutes. So 60 plus 20 equals to 80 minutes. Now we can solve the rest. 80 minutes minus 55 minutes equals to 25 minutes. 5 hours minus 1 hour equals to 4 hours. So the answer will be 4 hours and 25 minutes. Adding time without regrouping. At 1 hour and 25 minutes to 3 p.m. We start by adding the minutes first. Why? Because we may have to regroup them into hours. So over here, 0 minute plus 25 minutes is 25 minutes. 3 hours plus 1 hour equals to 4 hours. So the answer will be 4:25 p.m. Adding time with regrouping. 6:50 a.m. plus 2 hours and 55 minutes. We start by adding the minutes. 50 minutes plus 55 minutes equals to 105 minutes. 6 hours plus 2 hours equals to 8 hours. Remember, 1 hour equals to 60 minutes. So that's why we need to regroup 105 minutes into hours and minutes. So 105 minus 60 minutes equals to 45 minutes. Remember, 60 minutes means 1 hour. So the answer will be 8 plus 1 is 9. 9:45 a.m. This is 24-hour clock face, and then remember that there are 24 hours in a day. Telling time. Take a look to the time shown over here. Number 1. This is 10:05. Or you may read it as 5 past 10. Then how to write it? 10:05 a.m., 10:05 p.m., or 22:05. Next question number 2. This is 4:45. Or you may read it as a 4:45. Then how to write it? You may write it as 4:45 a.m. or 4:45 p.m. or 04:45 or 16:45. Next, number 3. This is 12:15. Or you may read it as a 12:15. Then how to write it? You may write it as 12:15 a.m., 12:15 p.m. or 00:15. Question number 4. This is 8:25. Then how to write it? You may write it as 8:25 a.m., 8:25 p.m. or 20:25. And the last question, this is 11:30. Or you may read it as 11:30. Then how to write it? You may write it as 11:30 a.m. or 11:30 p.m. or you may write it as 23:30. Converting hours to minutes. Remember that 1 hour is 60 minutes. How about 2 hours? So 2 times 60 is 120 minutes. 4 hours and 20 minutes. So this means 4 times 60 plus 20 minutes equals to 260 minutes. How about 2/3 hour? So 2 out of 3 times 60 minutes. So this equals to 40 minutes. Converting minutes to hours. Remember that 1 hour is 60 minutes. How about 45 minutes? So it will be 45 out of 60. Don't forget to simplify. Becomes 3 out of 4. How about 220 minutes? So this means 220 out of 60. So this equals to 220 divided by 60. So 60 times 3 equals to 180. So the remainder is 40. So the answer is 340 out of 60 hours. So don't forget to simplify. Equals to 2 out of 3 hours. Ramesh ran at a speed of 7 km per hour for 3.5 hours. And then he ran another 12.5 km. He took 6 hours altogether to complete the whole journey. Question A. Find the total distance that Ramesh ran. And B. Find his average speed for the whole journey. And then express your answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. So to solve question A, we must find out how far did he run for the first journey. You may draw the DST triangle. The speed is 7 km per hour, while the time taken is 3.5 hours. So to get the distance would be 7 times 3.5. You may convert 3.5 into improper fraction. So it will be 7 times 7 out of 2 equals to 24.5 km. And the question A is asking about find the total distance. So it will be 24.5 plus 12.5 km or plus 12.5 km equals to 37 km. Question B. Find his average speed. You may draw the DST triangle. Average speed is total distance divided by the total time taken. We know that the total distance is 37 km, while the total time taken is 6 hours. Then how to get the average speed? So it will be 37 divided by 6 equals to 1 out of 6 km per hour. William started to drive at 7:50 a.m. to go to his office. He drove 30 km at an average speed of 60 km per hour. What time did he reach his office? So over here we have to find out first the time taken. You may draw the DST triangle. The speed is 60 km per hour and the distance is 30 km. Then how to get the time taken? It will be 30 divided by 60. It's 1 out of 2 hours. You may convert it into minutes. Remember, 1 hour is 60 minutes. So this equals to 30 minutes. So what time did he reach his office? So 7:50 plus 30 minutes. 50 minutes plus 30 minutes is 80 minutes. 7 plus 0. So it means 7. 780. You may regroup 80 minutes into hours and minutes. So this equals to 1 hour and 20 minutes. So this means that he reached his office at 8:20 a.m. Heidi drove from Singapore to Kuala Lumpur. She took 2 hours to complete 1 out of 4 of the journey. She drove the remaining 252 km in 3 hours. Find the average speed for the whole journey. So over here we may see that 3 units equals to 252 km. How to get 1 unit? 1 unit is 252 divided by 3 equals to 84 km. Then to get the total distance between Singapore and Kuala Lumpur is 4 units. 4 times 84 is 336 km. Then how to get the average speed? The average speed is total distance divided by the total time taken. We know that the total distance is 336 km, while the total time taken for the whole journey is 2 hours plus 3 hours equals to 5 hours. Then to get the average speed is 336 km divided by 5 hours equals to 67.2 km per hour. So the average speed for the whole journey was 67.2 km per hour. Peter, Jamal and Khan were on their way to a resort. Peter drove 1/3 of the journey at a constant speed of 64 km per hour. So over here you may draw the diagram. The first diagram for Peter. 1 out of 3 of the journey for Peter, and then his constant speed is 64 km per hour. Next, Jamal took over and drove 5 out of 12 of the journey for 20 minutes at a constant speed of 60 km per hour. So this means we have to cut each part into 4 equal units. So now there are 12 equal parts. So 5 out of 12, 5 out of 12 of the journey for Jamal. His speed is 60 km per hour, and then he drove for 20 minutes. Next, Khan then took over and drove the remaining journey. Here is for Khan. Question A. How far did Jamal drive? So we may draw the ST triangle. The speed is 60 km per hour, while the time taken is 20 minutes. We must convert 20 minutes into hour. So this means 20 out of 60. Simplify, equals to 1/3 hour. Then how far did Jamal drive? So it will be 60 times 1 out of 3 equals to 20 km. So Jamal drove 20 km. Next, question B. How many minutes did Peter drive? So as we know, Jamal drove 20 km. So how many units is 20 km? 5 units equals to 20 km. How to get 1 unit? 1 unit is 20 divided by 5 equals to 4 km. How far did Peter drive? So Peter is 4 units. 1 unit is 4 km. How about 4 units? 4 times 4 equals to 16 km. Next, we may draw the DST triangle. he drove 16 km, and then his constant speed is 64 km per hour. Then to get the time taken will be 16 divided by 64 equals to 1/4 hour. Then we may convert it into minutes. So it means 1/4 times 60. Why 60? Because 1 hour equals to 60 minutes. So that's why 1/4 times 60 equals to 15 minutes. At 10:30 a.m., a fan left town X, traveling at an average speed of 64 km per hour. And then at 11:15, a car left town X, traveling on the same route at an average speed of 80 km per hour. Question A. At what time did the car catch up with the van? And then B. How far from town X did each vehicle travel when they passed each other? So over here we have to calculate the time interval between 11:15 and 10:30. Because we cannot subtract 30 minutes from 15 minutes, so that's why we need to borrow 1 hour. 1 hour means 60 minutes. Now we have 75 minutes. 75 minus 30 is 45 minutes. 10 hours minus 10 hours, 0 hour. So 45 minutes. We may convert 45 minutes into hour. So this equals to 45 out of 60. We simplify, becomes 3/4 of an hour. Then now here we are finding the speed of the fan. The speed of the fan is 64 km per hour. So this means in 1 hour it traveled 64 km. How about 3/4 of an hour? So it will be 3/4 times 64 equals to 48 km. And then for the car, the speed of the car is 80 km per hour. So this means in 1 hour it traveled 80 km. How about 3/4 of an hour? Equals to 3/4 times 80 equals to 60 km. And after that, we'll find the distance traveled by van and car in 45 minutes. 45 minutes means 3/4 of an hour. Because the difference between 11:15 and 10:30 is 45 minutes, so we'll count in 45 minutes. So 45 plus 45 means 90 minutes. Plus 45 equals to 135 minutes. And then plus 45 is 180 minutes. Plus 45 again, so equals to 225 minutes. The van left town X at 10:30. So it means 45 minutes later, it traveled 48 km. How about the car at 10:30? So the car was behind town X, means 0 km. After that, we'll count in 48. So 48 plus 48, 96. 144, 192, and then 240. Next, for the car. 45 minutes, it traveled 60 km. Because the car left town X at 11:15. And after that, we'll count in 60. 60 plus 60 equals to 120, 180, and then to 40. So here is the time where the car caught up with the fan. 225 minutes. 225 minutes, we can regroup it into hours and minutes. Remember that 1 hour equals to 60 minutes. So we minus it with 60. 165 minus 60 equals to 105 minus 60 equals to 45 minutes. So how many 60 minutes are there? There are 1, 2, 3. So it means 3 hours and 45 minutes. So question A, what time did the car catch up with the fan? So it will be 10:30 plus 3 hours and 45 minutes equals to 1375. And then remember again that 1 hour equals to 60 minutes. Over here 75 minutes, so that we have to regroup it into hours and minutes. So 75 minutes means 1 hour and 15 minutes. So the car caught up with the fan at 13 plus 1 equals to 14, 14, 15, or 2:15 p.m. So the car caught up with the fan at 2:15 p.m. And then question B, how far from town X did each vehicle travel when they passed each other? So each vehicle traveled 240 km. Another way to solve the question, A, what time did the car catch up with the fan? First, we are finding the elapsed time between 10:30 and 11:15 is 45 minutes or 3/4 of an hour. So 3 out of 4 times the speed of the fan times 64 equals to 48. And then after that, we are finding the difference between the car and the fan. The speed of the car is 80 km per hour, means in 1 hour it traveled 80 km, while the speed for the fan is 64 km per hour, means in 1 hour it traveled 64 km. So the difference between them is 16 km. So after that, 48 divided by 16 equals to 3 hours. 3 hours after 11:15. Is 14:15 or 2:15 p.m. This is answer A. How to solve the B? We may draw the DST triangle for the car. The speed of the car is 80 km per hour, while the time taken is 3 hours. So the distance traveled, 80 times 3 equals to 240 km. That's all from me. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.